In the second half of the summer, or the second half of this long green season, we often have a number of Sundays where the readings focus on Eucharistic themes. And of course, that's a very powerful theme to us here at St. John's. It's been long in our tradition that the Eucharist is really the locus of where we celebrate and think of our community forming. So this Sunday, we will have the very familiar story of Jesus feeding the 5,000. And of course, that's 5,000 men, children, and women, additional above and beyond that. But also in the first reading, the reading from Isaiah, this wonderful promise of bounty that comes forth. And Isaiah, or God through the voice of Isaiah, says, all come, the feast is for all. Even if you have no money and can't buy, there's plenty for everyone. So come and eat the good food and drink the good wine. The feast has been prepared for all. This universal lavishing of God's bounty on all of us. And that really sets the stage then for the gospel lesson with the feeding of the 5,000. So we'll have a lot of Eucharistic themes in our prayers and in our music. At the communion, we'll be singing a hymn that's not in our hymnal, but it's something that we've been singing at St. John's for the past several years. All who hunger, gather gladly. A new text that's paired with a very old tune. Actually, probably one of the very first published hymn tunes in the American tradition, a tune that's known as Holy Manna. And it has always had these Eucharistic sorts of themes associated with it. Very playful, joyful tune, and wonderful, exquisite words that fit the melody, but then also hearken to that Eucharistic theme. And while we're speaking on the Eucharist, we spoke a couple weeks ago about bringing the word out of the sanctuary and down among the people. And we had some positive responses, some folks that were reminded of that imagery as we read the gospel. And thinking about the Eucharist, there's a very small moment in our celebration of communion that sometimes gets sort of glossed over because it happens so quickly. After the Lord's Prayer, we have the fraction, where the host, the bread, is split in two. That's the fraction part of it. And the priest, the celebrant, will hold up the two halves of the host. And of course, that's very obvious imagery with Christ's body being broken for us. And that's imagery and language that we use. And yet that image of the host being broken in two and held, from very early on, from the first centuries of Christianity, had a different imagery associated with it. So if you think about that round disc of the host, when it's broken in two, it divides in half. There's a little magic there. Those crackers are made so that they have a little bit of an indent there so that the fraction happens very cleanly. But the idea is that you have these two straight sides in between. And for the early Christians, that idea was the two sides of the sea, the Red Sea, when Moses divided the Red Sea, and that we pass through with a side with a wall of water to the left and to the right, and we pass through to the promised land, to salvation, to God's presence. So this idea of having that host break through, and that we kind of symbolically recreate that journey across the Red Sea that the Israelites had, out of Egypt, out of bondage, into the promised land. So as we celebrate our Eucharist, there are so many wonderful things, images and thoughts that we associate with that. We ask that all who hunger come and gather gladly as we celebrate here at St. John's Cathedral.